Hello and welcome into the newest episode of Pat's Latest. I'm your host, Mike Gambardella. Thanks as always for joining us. Before we get started, make sure and subscribe for our channel, set up your notifications, be sure to give us some likes if you can, and go back and check out our old videos after this as well. For the Patriots here today, the Tee Higgins saga is back on in full. The Patriots get the latest updates from the NFL Combine and a lot of news coming for the defensive tackle for your New England Patriots. We start again with Tee Higgins, and we thought it was over. We thought he was back in Cincinnati. The franchise tag was there, and now Tee Higgins is taking to social media to voice his concerns about what the Cincinnati Bengals are actually doing with his contract. We know that Tee Higgins is going to have the franchise tag applied to him, and the initial thought was that Cincinnati was going to both pay Ja'Marr Chase and try and work out a long-term deal with Tee Higgins. Duke Tobin, who is in charge of making roster decisions for the Bengals, is looking to make Ja'Marr Chase the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. That is per Duke Tobin. That's going to be tough to do and still pay Tee Higgins, even though Joe Burrow wants it. Adam Schefter even went on the Pat McAfee show yesterday and kind of implied that Tee Higgins could be a good candidate for a potential tag and trade, saying this, tagging him is good business by the Bengals. You retain his rights, but it does not preclude him from being a trade candidate. So what this means is that Cincinnati will be looking to get something in return for losing a top receiver in this league. Going through this process, I think it's become quite clear how difficult it is to find a top flight wide receiver in the NFL. And Tee Higgins, as if he's not 1A, he's in that 1B class and could be that piece that the New England Patriots are indeed missing. The question is, will Eliot Wolf open up his draft capital and potentially both give free agent dollars? You're going to have to pay this guy $30 million a year and potentially give up a second round pick. Perhaps they can get away with a little bit less and a third and a fifth, or some package of compensation of draft picks and potentially a player. But the big news here is that the Tee Higgins saga is not over. Tee Higgins went on social media and posted the blue hat emoji, which that's Cap calling out what the Bengals have said. They want to pay both. They want to do this, and he does not believe them at all, which means the Patriots are still in play for Tee Higgins. Moving along to more from Eliot Wolf, who took the podium at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. And a big takeaway from him is the admission that he indeed failed to do enough in free agency last season. He went on to talk about the addition of Mike Vrabel as the head coach and the relationship between the two of them. He did note that all roster decisions are his to make. He is the final say on roster decisions. However, that does not mean he's going to go over Mike Vrabel's head. He mentioned that Mike Vrabel would not have taken this job if he didn't have input or a good working relationship with Wolf to know that that type of thing wouldn't happen. And it will be a very collaborative relationship. He wants players, just as Vrabel does, that are going to fit the Patriot way and fit the system that Mike Vrabel and his coaching staff are looking to instill. Again, going back to that responsibility for last year in failing in free agency, and he also admitted that it's too soon to tell on the 2024 draft class as a whole. Drake May, yes, was sensational down the stretch in spite of all of the hardships in front of him, and while the rest of that class may have been lacking, he too, just as Mike Vrabel yesterday, wants to give the sophomore season before making any ruling on the true nature of maybe what we classify as a failure for this draft class. A couple other pieces from Wolf. He also went on to speak about Colorado cornerback / wide receiver Travis Hunter and regarded him as a tremendous prospect. Again, I think it's becoming more of a pipe dream for Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter, the top two players in this draft, to slide to 4. I think Patriots fans are going to have to reframe their thoughts about the top end of this draft, because there are those two players There are quarterbacks and quarterback needy teams, and then there's going to be what is up next for the Patriots, and we'll get into that here shortly. Ending up with Wolf and the rest of his comments about Travis Hunter, kind of saying he's both unique and instinctive at both positions. And I think there's a scenario where he can play both ways. That is the selling point for the Patriots. The Patriots are one of the few teams in the NFL that might actually let Travis Hunter go do it all and be flexible to say, you know what, if you turn out to be a number one wide receiver in this league, we won't stop you from doing that because we have Christian Gonzalez and he can go out and shut down half of the field and we'll figure it out with free agency on the other side of it. Whereas another team may say, you are a cornerback, we need that. Go do that for us. The Patriots have a very glaring need at wide receiver. Travis Hunter could fill that. Again, that may actually take Eliot Wolf moving up in this draft to get to 3, and he did state that at 4 they are in good shape. So, again, while Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter would be sensational additions at number 4, do not get your hopes up too far. And again, while it is the combine and we'll get a lot of information, free agency will again dictate where things go for your New England Patriots. Finally, we'll look at what is happening at 4 currently. And we've talked about a lot of different players and scenarios that could come from this. And the more we look at this, the more Mason Graham is coming up a lot of people's boards, whether that be NFL pundits, the scouts themselves, or NFL teams. We're seeing Mason make that climb. He was at that 10 to 15 range, then suddenly 8, 7, and now 4 on a lot of people's boards, and maybe even appearing at 3. That means it's pointing more towards the Patriots that if they are unable to execute a trade at 4 and Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter are off the boards, you're not taking a quarterback. You're going to take the best available, which is quickly becoming Mason Graham as the best available player. That defensive tackle, the Wolverine himself from Michigan, the disruptor at 6'3" and 320 pounds. He is not quite J.J. Watt, that explosive athlete that could be that defensive end, defensive tackle tweener. He's more of that inside presence, perhaps more of an amalgamation of Kobe Turner for the Rams right now and Zach Seiler from the Miami Dolphins, and kind of meshing those two together to give us a sense of what this type of player will look like. But this does something that we've talked about in the past, that if you're not getting a guy that's scoring touchdowns in the NFL, wide receiver, quarterback, running back, or the high-end tight ends, you need a player that's going to get the football or get after the quarterback. Getting after the quarterback is what Mason Graham will do, while additionally playing a large part on that front line here for the Patriots. And what we also want to do here is take a quick jaunt back, because we skipped over one here for you, but figured it would be easier to go down and keep the draft things going. But we want to keep the defensive tackle talk here going, because the 2 stalwarts from the defensive line for the Patriots could have big impacts in their absence next year for New England. The Patriots have granted Davin Godchaux the ability to go out and seek a trade, and it is a little surprising because Davin's been an impressive player for the Patriots and one of those free agent signings that really has worked out. And even though at 30 years old, he might be on the other side in football terms, he's still producing at a very high level. So a bit of a surprise that the Patriots be willing to do that. It becomes more of a luxury because Mike Vrabel's system moves away from these techniques that Davin Godchaux would really thrive in. It's not the system that Mike Vrabel's really going to go out, and the schematic differences on that defense allow it to be a bit redundant on that side, especially if Christian Barmore can make his way back here as well. So expect that the Patriots and Godchaux would move apart, and expect perhaps in that 5th round pick range that something could come back to the Patriots in exchange for the impressive defensive tackle. Additionally, on Christian Barmore, Mike Vrabel spoke, as did Eliot Wolf. Eliot Wolf first saying that we don't know for sure when Christian Barmore will return with those blood clots, which sidelined him at the start of the year. He did come back and then again was moved back to the physically unable to play for those off-field issues. Vrabel went on to say that, again, it is too soon, but there will be a checkup when he's medically as he's closer in April. So again, once we get through free agency and probably right before the NFL draft, we'll get another checkup on him medically to see where he's at. But Vrabel did remark that he seems to have the energy and the attitude that he'd be excited to work with. So again, if Christian Barmore is healthy and cleared, expect him to be in the lineup. Davin Godchaux, not so much. Expect him to be in a different uniform when the season kicks off for 2025. That'll do us here for Pat's latest. Again, make sure to subscribe for our channel, give us a couple of likes, and go back and check our other videos as well. And get into the comments and let us know if Tee Higgins is worth it. Do you want to give up draft capital and free agent dollars to potentially go out and get a number one wide receiver for your New England Patriots and a new toy for Drake May? Fight on, Foxborough.